Welcome to We Have Notes.
Hey, Stanley.
Sorry. I didn't know who was going to start it off, and I was like,
No, I started it off. And I, just for the listeners, I gave, like, a lean.
Yo, you did.
It was like I was his therapist.
That white woman from Facebook is right. You got to lean in.
Hi, Oh, right. Hi, Stanley.
Hi, Meredith. How are you, my dear?
What would you like to talk about this week? How's your week been?
It's been interesting. I just flew back from Puerto Rico yesterday.
This is actually a therapy session, so
yes.
I hope everybody knows that that's what we're doing here today.
And I realized that being in Puerto Rico helped me unpack some of my feelings about race and race relations in America.
Oh my God.
Because of the way that Puerto Ricans are really a blend of all, like, the different people of the diaspora. So, like, black Puerto Ricans, white Puerto Ricans, and it's really interesting. And I asked myself the question, is this what things should be like? But then I thought about Puerto Rico's crushing income inequality and the fact that they still don't have power in large swaths of the country.
Which is whose fault? Trump's.
Yes, it is.
This is a politics podcast now. We're scrapping the therapy
That's
idea.
right. Fuck that shit. And then I went jet skiing, and I drank a lot of alcohol. So it was great.
Yeah, you had some rum?
Yeah. Oh, did I? I went to Bacardi party, dude. It was unlimited.
What is Bacardi party?
Bacardi, we went to the Bacardi headquarters, and we had unlimited booze and food. And I'm working.
And food, that's good.
Puerto Rican, like, straight up, like, homemade Puerto Rican dishes.
That's good.
So
because
that
if it was
great.
just the booze,
that's
a certain recipe.
Yeah, no, I only had about 3 drinks because, I'm
that's
working
very
still.
restrained.
Yeah. And it was good shit, too. So, pats on back to me for being responsible.
That, definitely. I'm, not even sure I believe this.
Yes. Listen, I'm a changed man. What about you? What have you been up to?
Oh, man. Well, I worked all weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't go to Puerto Rico. I had some wine, but no rum. That was that.
That was that?
That was that.
That was that?
Yeah, I watched a movie. A particular movie.
Whoa, what did you watch?
Which we're going to talk about. But what are the people listening to here?
So this is, right? We just went on like a whole therapy session. This is We've Got Notes.
It's We Have Notes.
Why do I keep messing that up?
And it's okay because I think this is pretty funny. I edited our other episodes this weekend.
Yes.
We have never one time gotten our own podcast.
I noticed
name, right?
that. Yes, what the fuck, dude? We Have Notes.
Well, we were kind of going back and forth. We were feeling it out.
Yeah.
We Have Notes is what's on our little graphic now.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it works.
I think so, too.
All right, so you're listening to We Have Notes. We just decided.
Yeah, We Have Notes. And this is Stanley Fritz, if you guys haven't figured it out. And I'm here with the brilliant, immaculate, but empower yourself, woman.
Meredith Barnes. Is that how I do it?
Don't you feel strong now?
I feel strong. I said my own name.
Good. Now
immaculate,
stop talking.
though, is very much a stretch.
Hey, sweetheart. We've empowered you enough now.
Sweetheart?
Yes. Now,
are you hearing this?
Now we're going to be talking about women empowerment some more.
That's right. This is a women's empowerment podcast. It's okay. Whatever. This is a series where we're talking about the 20 highest grossing movies of the year 2000, which was, my God, 20 years ago.
Holy shit.
It's important to remember your age and the fact that we're all going to die.
Yeah, that is a very real thing.
I think it keeps you humble.
It does. And also, you're like, I should just enjoy things and not be so hard on myself.
You should have more than 3 drinks at your Puerto Rican Bacardi party.
But then I will be way too drunk in front of the Speaker of the New York State Assembly, and that can't happen.
When you put it that way, it definitely makes sense to only have 3 drinks.
Right. For now.
You met the State Speaker of the House Assembly?
Yeah.
Did I say that right?
The New York State Assembly.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think he likes me too much because last year I was trying to talk to him about a bill during the dunk contest, and he missed like a really good dunk.
A dunk contest?
Yes. And he was not happy.
I have no more questions.
Yeah.
There's no reason why there shouldn't be a dunk contest involving the head of the state Senate, Supreme Court, Assembly.
Yeah, Supreme Court.
I literally can't even hold it in my head for 1 minute.
It's all good. It's all good.
Well, speaking of holding things in your head, had you ever seen Charlie's Angels before?
Yes, I did when I was 14 years old, I think.
Did you see it in theaters?
No, because I was too poor. I got the bootleg from my barbershop.
I saw it in theaters.
Did you?
Yes. But it was in Texas, so it was very cheap to see it.
How much
Probably
was it?
like $7.
What? That's it?
Yeah.
Wait, no, it was cheaper in
By
Brooklyn.
the
It was
way-
$5.
Okay, well, if you're going to make this about class warfare... That's crazy, though, because that is like some serious inflation of New York City movie prices.
Yeah, dude.
What do you think the minimum is now to get into a movie theater movie? I say $13.50.
14. But
You think it's 14 at
well,
Jackie Robinson?
And Jackie Robinson.
Magic Johnson? Okay. We're cutting that out. Sports.
Cut. It was,
No, we're leaving that in. We're going to be honest.
Sorry. At sports ball. At Magic Johnson is probably about $13.
Yeah.
But I go to Union Square because they like at Magic Johnson, they know you're gonna sneak into movies. So they have security. At Union Square, they're not thinking about that. So I pay for one movie for $15. I'm seeing 3 movies.
That takes a lot of planning.
Not really. If you
gotta know, you gotta line the movie times up.
I don't do that. I should do those
walk
things.
in and out.
Yeah, like see
in
what's
the
there.
middle of things.
Yeah, and like they don't ask questions. Now in Harlem, you gotta plan it out. You gotta time it. Marilyn and I have literally timed out movie start times for on Magic Johnson Theater.
Yeah.
And you either get the people who know what's up, or the people who know what's up but hate their job, so don't give a shit.
Yeah, they don't care.
And it's, you can't risk it.
The last time I did that was in college, and I gotta be honest, I was fully stressed out the whole time. Like, I couldn't enjoy anything that we saw. One of the movies was The Black Dahlia. Do you remember that? The dramatization of that LA murder?
With Josh Hartnett, right?
Josh Hartnett was in it.
He was one of my favorite actors because of 40 Days and 40 Nights.
40 Days and 40 Nights, Pearl Harbor for me, obviously. But I think that's just like a man-woman thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't remember anything about it except for the black ink dripping down the woman's cheeks in the title sequence. That's all I remember.
He tried out for the role of Superman and he didn't get it, and then he stopped acting for like 5 years.
That could have changed everything.
Yeah, I mean that movie was horrible. Superman with Brandon Routh. It was not a good movie.
I cannot believe you just called up the name Brandon Routh. Who even is that?
He has a show on the CW. Well, he's not. Well, the show he just got killed off actually on the show, but he was there and he's playing Superman in this.
What show
episode.
is it?
Legends of Tomorrow.
Wait, you did make me watch some of the first season of that. Very forgettable, I say.
Friendship is get out of my temporary home.
This is now a conflict resolution podcast.
We are 7 minutes and 39 seconds in, and we have talked about Charlie's Angels for approximately 15 seconds.
15 seconds, and had our first fight.
Yes. Have we made up yet?
Yeah.
Cool.
I wasn't even fighting. You were fighting.
Oh, was I?
Yeah.
Shit, I was. I'm sorry for fighting with you.
That's how you stay in a fight. If you make it that I wasn't. Oh no, it wasn't me. You. Anyway.
Yeah.
Charlie's Angels.
Charlie's Angels.
2000 action flick.
Yes.
Usually identified as a comedy action film.
Yeah.
But so I only remembered, and we'll get to like some things like box office and some trivia later, but I only remembered the 3 main actresses.
Yes.
And of course I know that it's a reboot of
a TV show.
70s TV show.
Yeah.
That starred other people.
Yeah,
Farrah Fawcett was one of them.
I don't remember.
And it's getting rebooted again. Elizabeth Banks is directing.
It looks good, though.
It looks good. I think it will. No, but I feel like I'm tainted by this 2000 reboot. I saw it in theaters. I think it has a lot to say about how we viewed women at that time. But also, I didn't come away with any of that the first time that I saw it.
Yeah.
So I was perfectly happy with this movie in 2000.
True. Yeah.
In 2020,
yeah,
I wasn't that happy with it.
Yeah. What the fuck, dude?
I feel like we might have hit our first dud.
Yeah.
Which in the last episode we were talking about, I can't wait for our first dud.
Yes.
I think if we had watched this movie together, we would not have finished it. Because we would have gotten ourselves so worked up.
Yeah, 2 minutes in, I wanted to turn it off.
I did too.
I was like, why was LL Cool J dressed like that?
Okay. I have cataloged in my notes, which we have, because We Have Notes, how many racist costumes there were.
Yeah.
And the timestamp on each one.
You are doing the Lord's work, Meredith.
we get by 15 minutes in, we're at 4.
Yeah.
We'll get into that.
They're just getting started.
We're just getting started. So the premise of this movie is that you've got Cameron Diaz, Lucy Liu, Drew Barrymore.
Yes.
They are the angels.
Yes, they are.
Bosley is the interlocutor between these 3 women who are the angels and Charlie.
Yes.
We don't know who he is. Bosley is played by Bill Murray.
Yeah.
One of the few delights of this movie.
Bill Murray's always a delight.
He is always a delight because he's such an injection of absurdity into anything that he does. And this movie needed absurdity in the worst way.
Yeah.
So, it begins. We've got a terrible CGI plane filled with a very eclectic group.
Yes.
We start in first class. There are nuns there. There are seemingly foreign dignitaries there.
I mean, it's important people.
It's important people.
Yes.
It's all red velvet, red leather seats.
Yeah.
For no reason.
Yeah.
And then this is one long single shot for 2.5 minutes.
Yeah.
It was in that way, very impressive, technically.
Yeah.
So they get sort of down one aisle. If you've been on one of those international planes where you've got 2 seats, then 4 seats, then 2 seats on the other side. So they go down one aisle, they come back up. As they're coming back up, this guy in a African, garment.
Yes.
With a little, flat top cap.
Yeah, which, I don't understand. What country is that from? It's
Africa.
Yes. Yes. This is what white people would think of Africa.
Yes.
That.
100%.
But, with an American-ass accent.
But I was kind of oh my God, black guy right out of the gate.
Yeah, oh yeah, seriously, yes.
We've marked that it has taken sometimes 75 or 80% of a movie to get a person of color on the screen.
Yes.
I was oh, okay, here we go. I had totally forgotten how this goes.
You forgot about the racism.
I forgot about so much. So, this guy goes up the aisle and we sort of walk. We see him present. Or
wait, the guy was sorry, this is first class.
Yeah. So he tries to walk up to the curtain. The flight attendant, who's this dude that's clearly supposed to be gay.
Yeah.
Which was also offensive. He was very sort of stereotypically kind of sassy.
Yes, rom-com homosexual.
Yes. I wrote down we have our gay best friend.
Yes.
He was a gay best friend type, which is a stereotype and it is offensive.
Yep.
And he's I'm sorry, sir, this is for first class only. And the man who we do not yet know as LL Cool J gives him his ticket, and the guy's okay, well, why don't you go on in?
And then rolls his eyes.
LL Cool J goes and sits down next to this sort of scraggly Unabomber-looking white dude.
Is that Carrot Top?
No, it's not Carrot Top. I cannot tell you who it is.
I know his face. He's someone.
Yeah, he's a character actor. We will figure this out at the end. Yeah. But he has he looks like the Unabomber.
Yeah.
If you know a picture of the Unabomber. And LL Cool J pours some diamonds out in his hand.
Yeah.
And the scraggly Unabomber guy is they exchange some sort of password. And LL Cool J says, well, where's the bomb?
Yeah.
And the scraggly white dude lifts his shirt up and he goes, I am the bomb.
Yeah.
And I thought at this moment, this is the year 2000.
Mm-hmm.
This is the last year where scraggly white dudes were our go-to depiction of terrorists.
Yes.
Because this is a watershed moment.
Yep.
After 2001...
Dude, I didn't even think about that.
Domestic terrorism looked like a white guy.
Yep.
In the year 2000. And in the year 2001, it looked like a brown guy.
Yep.
And I think we don't remember that. And this movie shows that that is how we conceptualize
even in Die Hard, which is the 80s, the terrorist dude, they were always Russians.
Yeah, Russians or
some
Germans.
Eastern European thing. That's a major plug, dude. That's a good point. So sorry, go ahead.
It was wild. So, this guy reveals he's got a bomb. It shows that T.J. Hooker is playing on the plane.
Yeah.
Did you pick up why
I
that
did
was?
not know.
I think it's just another 70s, like, cop show.
Yeah.
So that was the thing.
It's like, this is important.
Don't forget, we're referencing the 70s.
Callback, baby. Yeah.
It was just, like, callback time. Which the whole plane was giving, like, a very 70s kind of, like, swinger sex club vibe off. But
those nuns are going to get down soon.
Yeah. So LL Cool J, like, picks up the scraggly white dude. And they end up falling out of the plane.
Yeah, like, so he did that to save the people in the plane from the bomb, I assume.
Right.
But if you open that door...
The whole plane is going to get ripped inside out.
Yeah, like, would it...
All the oxygen, that's my understanding at least. If you know better about planes, please let us know. But so they leap out of the plane and you're just like, what? And they're falling, and then there's a helicopter that comes in. Lucy Liu grabs them out of the sky.
Yep.
Let's get through this. We're still in like the first 10 minutes. I know. I'm with you. I was already like, no, I want to turn this off. Lucy Liu, like, grabs them out of the sky. White scraggly dude is hanging on. She rips the bomb off the white scraggly
easily,
dude.
with no problem.
No problem.
Why couldn't LL Cool J do that on the plane? And open the door slightly, since we're not paying attention to physics, and throw it out.
Just toss it out. I don't know. But
Wait, one more question. I'm sorry.
Yes.
How did he get on the plane with that bomb strapped to his chest?
Because this was the year 2000, man.
I know, but, like, even still, dude, like, they had some kind of security.
Did they? I don't remember.
Remember all the movies from before 9/11? They would just run through the airport.
Yes.
And, like, don't leave me.
It's very romantic.
Oh, my God, dude.
Yeah, I got met by my grandparents at my gate a number of times.
Oh, man.
Like, there was just no security. This guy gets on the plane, full-on chest bomb, whatever. Lucy Liu rips it off, throws it up in the air as they're falling, so it explodes above them.
That was really bad
Terrible
CGI. Oh, my God.
Terrible. They continue to fall, right? Cameron Diaz pulls up in a speedboat.
In the middle of the ocean.
In the middle of God knows what ocean.
In a bikini for why?
A very tiny bikini for why. This could have been a tactical situation where she needed to leap into action. That was not going to happen. She catches everybody.
Perfectly.
They, like, handcuff the white scraggly dude. Now, here is where we interact with our very first racist costume.
Oh, my God.
Because what happens, Stanley?
LL Cool J comes flying down in the Africa flag of a parachute.
Yes, I forgot about that. Oh,
what? How did they even? Why did they need to do that? Why?
Well,
and, like,
what did they do?
He lands, and then, like, how did his hat stay on when he was falling?
Oh, what an excellent question! I didn't even think of that.
This movie's so bad.
It's already like I just said. I said to myself at that moment, I'm really glad we're watching this separately.
Yeah.
And at the time, I wasn't sure if it was going to be like I'd watch it and like tell it to you, and then you'd watch another one, so you wouldn't have to see it.
Yeah.
And I thought that would have been great, but you took the bullet and watched it yourself.
Because I was like, because you said it, but we never confirmed it. So I was like, all right, I guess I gotta watch it.
Yeah.
And then I was like, this is horrible. And I felt
horrible.
Embarrassed because people could see my screen. And I was like, shit. How do I explain? Sorry.
LL Cool J alights upon this boat.
Yes. And then I forgot what the guy, he says, what is it? Who are you, sir?
Yeah, something like that.
And he was like, don't you mean bitch? And it takes,
he calls him a bastard.
Yes. And then LL Cool J goes, takes something out of his mouth and has the voice of Drew Barrymore and goes, don't you mean bitch? And then takes off the face mask to reveal it is actually Drew Barrymore.
Blackface.
Yes. High-tech blackface, but blackface.
But blackface on the left.
The whole time, they're on a speedboat, and there's no wind, there's no water, and they're like just like sloshing their hair aside in slow motion.
Yeah.
For what reason?
Male gaze.
And yes, that was not doing anything for me. And that's why I said, so Meredith and I were texting, and I said, this movie, it felt like the director was just trying to say, you want to fuck these three, don't you? Yes, you do. And I was like, I mean, I guess, sure, maybe. I wasn't really thinking about it. Like, that's what that felt like.
Yeah. Which, I will say, this movie is referencing a 70s TV show.
Yes.
So, in some ways, there's an element of camp to this movie.
Yeah.
And I want to just acknowledge that for anyone that's going to be like, you just don't get it. They're being campy. Like, I understand what camp is. I understand this movie has a lot of it. but it also reflects the times in which it was made, I think, in a way that shows the blind spots in the camp trajectory, and we'll get into that.
Yep.
So after this cold open, we'll call it, of this weird speedboat.
We've only made it to the first 10 minutes.
I know, and it's 20 minutes in. Okay, so we cut to this flashback of the three women as little girls.
Yes.
We go through Lucy Liu, who's this, like, prim, rich girl. She's, like, a horseback rider, and then she's an astronaut.
Yeah.
Drew Barrymore is, like, a punk, and then she's a cop.
Yes.
Cameron Diaz is, like, first shown as a dork with a retainer.
Yes.
And then she wins Jeopardy.
Yes.
So I think we're meant to understand, like, then what roles these women are playing in the little trio. That Lucy Liu is, like, the smart one.
Yeah.
But then also Cameron Diaz is the smart one because of the Jeopardy thing. Drew Barrymore is definitely intended to be read as, like, the most sort of lone wolf badass type.
But, like, what at the point that I think you might be missing, because you are a woman, which means you have a brain, is these are the different iterations.
Hey, man, you got a brain, too.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
These are the different iterations of the kind of women that men thought they were supposed to like. So, Cameron Diaz was the hot chick who didn't know she was hot.
I'm very grateful for this. Okay, Cameron Diaz doesn't know she's hot.
Yeah, she doesn't know. So she's super down to earth, and she's bubbly, and she's cool, and she'll dance, and she doesn't care who sees her.
We'll get to the dancing.
And you can see that because she has braces when she's a kid.
Okay.
And then Lucy Liu is like the prim, proper girl.
She's stuck up.
Yeah, who her dad doesn't want you to marry her, and you got to fight for it. And then Drew Barrymore is the badass rebel chick who smokes weed and maybe fucked a couple of the band guys. But, like, she sees something in you, and she wants to, like, engage in that further.
Okay.
And those were, like, the tropes of the women that you were into. Even think about all the 90s teen movies and how the women showed up.
No, it's true. I'm actually ashamed that I didn't catch this.
It's because you are an adult person.
I was going like, but wait, if Lucy Liu's the smart one, then how can Cameron Diaz be the smart one? But it's two smart ones, but one is accessible and one is not accessible.
And you're not thinking with your penis. See, that's the problem.
I get into that all the time. I've got to get better about that.
Yeah, man. I mean, listen, if you want to understand these things, you got to use your penis. Oh, my God. So we had this on mute right now.
Yeah,
as we're
it's very
talking.
distracting. But so, all right. So we go through the women as children, and then the next scene is Drew Barrymore awaking. She's got smeared lipstick. She's clearly had a one-night stand. Her lover, unbelievably, is Seth Green.
No, Tom Green.
Tom Green.
And that was her real-life husband. They got married because of that movie.
Oh, my God. I forgot about that.
Which is like, what?
She didn't know her worth. And child stars often don't.
This is true.
So Tom Green is there. He basically says some words interspersed with saying his own name over and over again, which is Chad.
Yes.
And she gets a phone call.
Yep.
And she leaves. And he's like, was it the Chad? And she's like, yeah, it was the Chad.
Yeah.
And now, did you have this thought? Because I had this thought. Chad. Year 2000.
Yeah.
Does that remind you of anything else?
Chad. No.
Florida. Hanging Chads.
Oh!
The fucking election?
Shit!
I don't know.
Oh, we are going deep.
I don't know.
This is Inception. You don't even know it.
I don't know if that was a reference, but I was like, oh my God, is this an election reference?
You don't even know. This is actually a 2000 presidential election protest movie. Right. And we're too stuck up to fucking see it.
Again, this is a politics podcast. So we cut to Cameron Diaz. She's a nightclub performer. It's very disco, very 70s. I have to say, she can pop a back.
Yeah, she has good rhythm.
She did a good job.
She's definitely good popping the back because she has no ass. At all.
It was definitely like this whole disco thing, which is all very much clearly a reference.
It probably sounds like two cardboard boxes slapping against each other.
It's just like cracker. Pop, 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 pop.
Seriously, dude.
But it's a dream.
Yes.
She wakes up. She has no pants on. And she gets out of bed and she sort of dances. And I was like, okay, this is like not a sexy dance. She's in like full coverage panties.
With a comic book panties.
Book panties. See, that now you're taking this away from me. But if it's the comic book thing, it probably did have a little bit of male gaze to it. Yeah. But it's so dorky that I was like, yeah, this is how women like get up and kind of pump themselves up in the morning sometimes. Like, not every day. But if you were going to be like, yeah, my butt looks good in my like comfortable underwear. This is how you would dance.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's no male gaze here. I like this. And I wrote that down. And then her doorbell rings, and it's the UPS guy. And she goes to the fucking door with no pants on, and the UPS guy is like, oh. And I'm like, all right, well, that ruined it.
But did you hear the awesome line she said? I signed a release, you can just stuff it in my hole.
My slot.
Yeah, there we go.
You can just put it in my slot.
Yeah, and it's like, what?
And I was like, oh, never mind.
But can we please step back for 1 second into the bedroom? She starts to make up her bed, but then stops. Like, she gets up and she stops making up her bed before the doorbell rings.
Making the bed up just consist of doing this with her comforter? She's just like...
Yeah, she starts dancing. And I'm like, aren't you going to finish the job?
See, I felt like the job was done.
All right, you see this right here?
I'm a monster.
This is complete.
So Lucy Liu, we see her, she's with Matt LeBlanc.
Yes.
From Friends.
Joey Tribbiani, show some respect.
Joey Tribbiani. He has terrible spiked bangs.
Yes.
Which will come up again. And she's like running lines with him for a scene. He's an actor.
Yeah.
And he has to do like a bomb diffusion scene.
Yes.
And she basically schools him on bomb diffusion. And he's like, oh my god, who knew? You
for a bikini waxer.
Yes, for a bikini waxer, which I was like,
what?
This is racist, question mark?
Yes.
And she's like, yeah, I guess. So they all get phone calls in the middle of these scenes that are like introducing them. Yes.
Real quick, because during the screen reading, when she was like, it has to be like fast and hard. No, rough and fast. And he goes, sometimes I get done faster. I get done quicker when it's rough and fast. And I was like, me too. And then
yes, that's right. And it's, there's all these double entendres that you're kind of like, oh, I see. Like, this is very empowering. Like, she knows more about bomb diffusion than him. But then they're like, no.
Sex.
Yep.
Sorry. I just want to
that's what you guys
get that joke in there.
Right. You're totally right. So they all three get together. They're all complaining. Lucy Liu is talking about, like, well, I can't tell him. I can't tell Matt LeBlanc that I'm, like, whatever. Like, they're all basically complaining, like, men are just too intimidated by me.
Yeah.
Which is a classic trope of how men assume women talk to each other about men. And then Bill Murray walks in as Bosley. They all immediately cuddle up on this love seat, like, basically crawl into Bill Murray's lap, which is a callback from the show.
Yes.
Like, I will give it that, but still. It was like, okay. I said, they all ... cuddle up and fawn all over Bill Murray's craggy self.
Yes, he has like an open bald spot on the top of his head.
Craggy.
And like, I love Bill Murray, but he is not a very cuddly person. He doesn't look it.
He's craggy.
I don't know what that means, but it doesn't sound good.
It means like his face is not smooth. It looks like a craggy rock face.
Oh, yeah, it does.
It's actually gotten better with age, I have to say, as most men do. But that's all about how we allow them to get old. Anyway, so Charlie calls 9 a.m. on the dot, and they go, "Good morning, Charlie."
This is really weird.
Which is also a callback to the show.
All these things are callbacks, but...
I know, but then they have a reason at least other than sexism.
I know, but...
it doesn't solve it.
It was like 30 years at that point. They couldn't have been like...
Do you think they should have just been like, fuck you, Charlie?
No, but like, maybe they would have been like, women... Maybe we shouldn't just have them being all droopy and like childlike to a man they've never met before over a speaker.
Oh, I cannot wait until we get into that.
Oh, God.
Okay, so he presents them with their mission, right? Eric Knox is this software engineer. He's been kidnapped. The president of his company, Vivian Wood, is the new client. Basically, they have some sort of like voice recognition software.
Yes.
And as they're sort of like... I think they're, like, saying he's cute or something.
Yeah.
She walks in the door. Vivian Wood.
No, when she walked in the door, that's when they said, oh, she did it. And then she was like, case closed, bitches.
So she walks in. She kind of, like, explains the role of Roger Corwin, who's presented as the suspect. He owns a satellite company, like a communications company. Yeah. And she's like, he's always hated us, whatever. And she says, like, you can find him at his weekly massage at Madame Wong's House of Blossoms. Guess who is his masseuse? Lucy Liu. She now has the spiky bangs, so you say, like, couples start to look like each other. Mm-hmm. She, like, jumps right up on his back, knocks him out with, I presume, a move that won't kill him.
Crouching tiger move.
Now, we move into a different territory, because now we're to our second racist costume.
Ooh.
Because now everybody's there at the massage parlor,
mm-hmm.
and they're all in Asian dress with exaggerated eye makeup.
Well, you know, you have to do that because I got nothing.
Why? Like, they're going into the men's locker room as well. So, I guess they would have cover for that. Anyway, they break into his locker and break into his Palm Pilot, which I wrote in all caps.
Oh my God.
And they copy his car key by pressing it into some putty, mm-hmm. which I guess they're going to now cast mm-hmm. in, like, silver or something. So Cameron Diaz is like, I've got his schedule. Like, they get his schedule off his Palm Pilot.
2000 hacking.
Oh my God. So Corin wakes up, Lucy Liu's back as his masseuse. My question, so why did they need everyone? If he was knocked out,
yes.
Could she not break into that by her own?
But,
anyway.
like, they need to be together so you can see the hot girl hijinks.
Right, yes, because they did kind of all pile on top of each other mm-hmm. coming through the doors.
You see?
But Destiny's Child was playing, so I was distracted.
Uh-huh.
They're driving now in a car, in
mm-hmm.
a convertible, 70s-looking car. I don't know.
Their hair's in the wind. Don't forget
hair's
about that.
In the wind.
Always.
Everyone's hair's in the wind.
And it does a slow motion thing, too, remember?
Yeah, Lucy Liu takes off her glasses and really has a moment.
And all these things are callbacks. But it's just like, come on.
But also, not everyone had, like, the big hair swinging moment.
Yes.
Only Lucy Liu did, which, like, I'm okay with.
Yeah.
But still, it's like, if you're going to call it back, call it back.
She's, like, beautiful, too.
So Cameron Diaz is in the back of this convertible, enhancing closed-circuit television footage on a machine that also prints you out a picture of the photo you've enhanced.
This is where the future was heading. Before Napster.
We haven't gotten there yet, but that's where they thought it was going. Mm-hmm. So they find this, like, skinny, creepy guy, mm-hmm. and they're like, that's our man. So,
the guy with the black hair, right?
Yes, and the weird kind of upward tilted line eyebrows.
He was, like, really fucking creepy.
He's very creepy. His name is Crispin Glover.
Crispin Glover?
Yes, no joke. Glover. But not... Yeah. Anyway, so... next thing is they go crash a party with Bosley.
Yes.
Corwin's party, which is at a Japanese shrine that Corwin has allegedly had airlifted, FedExed, he says, to California.
I do not remember that.
I do, because I have notes.
I had whiskey. I'm not going to lie to you.
Listen, I'm not saying I was totally sober, but I did write down notes. So they crash the party. Bosley walks in with Lucy Liu and Drew Barrymore on each arm. Then Cameron Diaz is posing as a waiter. Mm-hmm. And that's where we meet Luke Wilson for the first time.
Oh my God.
Pete. So, we walk into this party. There is Asian face everywhere. Everyone has big eyeliner. Like a lot of white women that are sort of in kimono-y sort of things. It's gross.
None of these things are callbacks.
Right, yes. We are beyond callback.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because, like, my thing is, like we said, we knew some of this was going to be callbacks. We knew this is going to be camp. But just, like, the level of absurd racist shit that happens for no explanation at all, you could have easily said, you know what? We don't need to do that.
No.
No.
They could be at a Shinto temple.
Yeah.
But just not with big eyeliner. Like... It could have totally happened.
But how would you know that they're Asian?
But also, the 90s and into the early aughts was the time of, like, Gwen Stefani with the bendies.
Oh, yeah,
and all sorts of stuff. So we had, like, a real Asian fetish as a country at that time. And it was just a big, old blind spot.
Everybody gets their chance to be culturally appropriated in the 2000s. Everybody.
Yeah, and it is all in this movie. We're not even halfway through the racist costumes yet. Not the racist stuff. Just the racist costume. That's all we're tracking. So, Cameron Diaz goes up to the bar. Luke Wilson is the bartender. Mm-hmm. He says, like, ni hao to her, or sayonara, some, like, Japanese word. And she responds in fluent Japanese. And he's, like, shocked. Shook. To the ground.
She's down to earth, and she's smart.
Yes. And in the middle of this very high-stakes situation, the other angels are in Cameron Diaz's ear going, Oh my god, go back and flirt with him.
Yeah, yo. This is what... I will not lie to you.
I
stopped the movie
not.
At that moment, and I was like, I need a break. I was like, it was so absurd.
So absurd.
Because I'm like, and what you, like...
And Cameron, Drew Barrymore was like, get back to work, and Lucy Liu was the one who was like, no. One was like, play hard to get, and one was like, no, you need to go back. And I was like, I cannot believe.
You see, before I was having conversations with actual women and having sex, I thought this was how women were.
Why did you have to add having sex into that?
Because no man who has ever had sexual intercourse with a woman, and they both, like, enjoyed it, thinks this is how women function. This is, like, straight up incel shit. Like, this is, like, I've only seen women in the books in the comment sections of, like, fucking, like, whatever website that I'm on. Like, it's ridiculous.
All right, well, we're going to get more into that.
Yeah.
But, so, meanwhile, Corwin, Roger Corwin, our alleged, kidnapper, is feeding Bill Murray fugu. Do you know what fugu is?
No, it's fugu.
That's blowfish that is sliced a very particular way. It's I think in Western culture, we fetishize it. In Japan, it's probably totally safe to eat, but it's because there are poison sacs that the sushi cutting actually cuts around. People like, it's poison. Yeah. Whatever. So Bill Murray, eats it. He's very nervous. He's fine. Yeah. The end. The Angels clock the skinny guy from the closed circuit camera footage. They chase after him, and then we get into our first wire foo scene.
Wait, I don't remember this.
Do you know what wire foo is?
No. Oh!
When we were talking about Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, we were like, what's this production?
Oh,
what is this?
Yes.
So this was like a parody almost of wire foo, which is a American bastardized way to talk about this very elegant filming technique. So they're in an alley. They're all fighting. Yeah. It's like the shittiest version of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon that you can imagine. Yeah. They have this 5-minute long fight scene. Crispin Glover and the Angels. They end up finding Eric Knox, our software guy, in a room with 3 inches of water on the floor, and they pan to his feet, and they've got rats all over them. Yeah. And I was like, ah!
Because, they got it up to stakes.
That's what happened. So, but then you're 20 minutes into the movie, and you're like, okay, we cracked the case. No problemo. So they bring him back, and Eric, to headquarters or whatever, Eric and Vivian explain why Corwin would have wanted to kidnap Eric Knox. Now, they say something I find so shocking. Vivian says, if, we combined Eric's voice recognition software with Corwin's satellites, and Cameron Diaz chimes in, and she's like, yeah, they all have global positioning systems. Vivian says, no one could hide. It would be the end of privacy. Now, that sounds familiar. Cut to racetrack. Why? I don't know. Corwin apparently owns it.
Why not talk about racing, though? Because,
this is a totally throwaway part of the movie. All 3 of the Angels are there, and Bosley. They're basically posing as the pit crew. Cameron Diaz is their driver.
Sexy pit crew.
Very sexy pit crew. This was what was on the posters. Is them in those, racing suits.
But
that are all
skin.
Weirdly cut straight to the navel, like J-Lo at the VMAs. And they're fixing this car, because... And Cameron Diaz and Lucy Liu sort of peel off to go and plant a micro camera on a briefcase. Which, I don't know how micro you'd have to get that camera to where it wouldn't be noticeable on a briefcase, but it's not micro enough. So Cameron Diaz climbs into the car with the chauffeur and seduces him.
Yes. Or
distracts him by, saying things like, I've come undone! And licking the steering wheel, which surely had, what's that? What are those wipes? Gorilla wax? Gorilla whatever?
I don't know I know what you're talking about. I don't know the name of it.
It must have tasted horrible.
Why did, 1 second, because you guys can't see this. One of the things I love about Meredith is when she's trying to drive a point home about how ridiculous it is, she'll do this thing where she leans forward and kind of, puts her hand in her chin, and I love it. And she just did that.
It makes me sound docile.
No, like, you are not docile, but it's one of, like, it's like a very subtle thing that you like to do.
It's like, can you believe
it's like landing the sarcasm, and I love that about you. But when you did that just now, there we go. Yeah, there you go.
It's the flat of the top of your hand, ladies, under your chin. You all know it.
Yeah.
So Cameron Diaz, or Drew Barrymore, is in licking the steering wheel. This guy is totally unprofessional and should be fired because he was totally distracted by this. Meanwhile, Lisa Liu is putting this micro camera on the briefcase, which was in, conveniently, the trunk.
You know.
They get back to the thing. They're all like, we did it.
Yep.
Cameron Diaz, though, spots skinny guy.
Creepy skinny guy. Crispin
Glover. And he's getting in a black race car.
Oh, I know what you're...
She jumps in a white race car, so you know who's the bad guy and who's the good guy.
Yeah, like, you need a contrast.
And they tear around the track.
Which, if he, like, what was he trying to accomplish?
Well, Lucy Liu says, what are you doing? He's not going anywhere. Then, Crispin Glover goes out on the street. So he and Cameron Diaz have a road race with these crazy, like, big splayed wheel Formula 51
which is
cars?
Like not
I don't know.
practical.
Is that the right number?
No, you're right. It's not practical. He could have just walked out of the stadium.
Anything else could have happened.
He didn't need to be there.
No.
And then it was a cool scene. Like,
was
in 2000, it was.
They absolutely killed several people.
Several hundred people.
Several hundred. But several people died.
Yes.
They caused these crazy car crashes. They end up on the Golden Gate Bridge,
yes.
It looked like to me, playing chicken.
Yes.
Crispin Glover's car goes over the side. I'm like, great job, Cameron Diaz. Now you killed our star witness.
Yeah.
Idiot.
Yeah. So
they all end up back at headquarters. And we get the classic mainframe conversation of, like, this era of spy movies or, like, action movies where they're like, we'll just tap into the mainframe, which my understanding is it's not a thing. If anyone out there can explain why the mainframe is a part of every spy movie, I would like to know.
I think I know because I used to do computer tech when I was in high school.
Oh my gosh.
So the mainframe, because computers used to be as big as...
That was right around this time.
Yeah, it used to be as big as, like, entire rooms. So before internet
But that wasn't when you were in high school.
No, but before internet really grew big, there would be a central space where, like, I was storing all the data.
Isn't that just the server, though?
They call that now for Wi-Fi. Okay. But before, you call it the mainframe. And the mainframe was also, like, the central piece of the computer.
Someone who knows, please tell us.
Yes. Neil, help us.
I find you very convincing, but, like, not that convincing.
Help us, Neil.
So, every time, I know to at least roll my eyes at the mainframe thing, but I don't really know why. They're like, we'll just put a bug in the mainframe. You know what I love when it's just, like, typing stuff indiscriminately and nothing's happening? Well, it's the same thing with, I'm enhancing this closed-circuit footage. Yes. And it's like, or in Law & Order when they're like, enhance that. Yep. It's like, no, that's not how it works. It's when you press edit on your iPhone so you can make this... Oh, put it in Valencia. Yeah, she put it in Valencia. It's like auto. Dude, yes. I'm never good enough to, like, enhance shit by myself. Yeah. You're a liar, Cameron Diaz. Cameron Diaz is a liar. So is everyone else, because they get the classic mainframe thing. Yep. For some reason now, we as this mission is getting described, we cut through first Drew Barrymore's lips in close-up. Cherry red lips on half of the split screen while it's showing us the thing they're going to break into. It's very Mission Impossible-y. The first one, the best one. The best one. In this part. Then it cycles through Cameron Diaz and Lucy Liu's lips. And I have to say, Drew Barrymore, 100% the best lips. Yeah, she really does. She has very, like, plump lips. Yes, and, like, I think, like, it feels weird sometimes talking about her lips because I've been seeing her act since she was a child. A child? So, like, I'm like, I knew, like, I mean, I was her age when she was a child, too, I think. A little bit younger, but still. But yeah, she had the best lips there. Definitely had the best lips there. So they go through basically this. I'm going to give you the whole mission up front, and then we're going to go back and tell you how they got into it. So they have to break into this room that has only two directors can get into it. One has to put his hand up, and it has exact fingerprints, and the other guy gets a retinal scan. And then when they go in, there's a floor that unless you deactivate it, it will pressure, like the pressure for more than 2.5 seconds will set off the alarm. That's what you need to know. So they show us all that as they're explaining it. Now, go back. We have to then what? Get the director's fingerprints and the director's retina.
Seduce them.
How do we do that? Seduce them.
Mm-hmm.
So now we come to our 6th and 7th racist costume.
A double feature.
6th, 7th, no, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. Because we have... Yes. So we have Lucy Liu and Cameron Diaz come out in this bar as belly dancers.
Oh, yeah.
All they can do, by the way, they're just shaking their hips side to side.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you have ever seen someone who can actually belly dance, you know there's a lot of, like, forward motion.
Yep.
It's not just side to side. It's not just latitude. It's longitude.
It's pretty impressive, actually.
And real belly dancing.
Yeah.
This is just, like, not. And they're, doing their thing. And the one director that they need to get fingerprints from is, like, ogling them.
Obviously.
Now, the worst part of it, so that's already, we're a little bit into, like, brownface territory.
Yeah.
Drew Barrymore comes out of the background in full-on brownface. Like, actually brownface and a hijab.
In her defense, she had to get that retinol.
We're not to retina yet. We're still on fingerprints.
Oh, sure.
She picks up this guy's beer bottle, which has such a clear fingerprint on it that you can see it on the screen.
That is the way that...
That's how fingerprints work?
No.
When she came out, my jaw dropped. Like, she full on has, like, just a lot of bronzer on her face.
Yeah, it's... Oh, my gosh. So
but
it's like,
with, like, a Miriam, like, how white people think of the mother of Christ, like, a Mary hijab on. It's terrible.
You know what she reminded me of? Christina Aguilera. During her second album.
You're right.
When she was, like, wearing so much bronzer, it was like, come on, we know what's happening here.
Oh, so much bronzer.
Yep.
And people are doing it now, too. I mean, Kim Kardashian has been accused of it, like, technically not white. I don't know. It's like a whole thing. So that all happens. Drew Barrymore, I wrote, in brownface, for sure, underlined. She steals a beer bottle, and they show you on the screen, like, see his thumbprints right there. And you're like, okay. But also, how are you going to extrapolate that to all 5 fingers? Which you need to get into the gel-based...
Each fingerprint is different.
It's different. So, the next scene, they show up at the other director's house in Lederhosen, lip-syncing clearly. Did you watch this scene?
I do not. No. I'm not going to lie to you.
Bosley's there playing a tuba, and the girls are all in Lederhosen, like short, like beer Oktoberfest costumes.
I will not lie to you. Once they did that, like the race car thing, I was like, all right.
Really, the cars were the breaking point?
Yes, because it's like, why they didn't need to do that?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to tell you what happened in the rest of the movie.
Tell me. I'm
sorry.
No,
I think that's very valid. Let me be clear with you. So, in the tuba, in the top of the tuba, is a retinal scanner.
You never, listen.
You never think of the tuba.
Because,
Because why would that ever be possible? So they scan the guy's eye with a little camera in Bosley's tuba. And they get it. So now we got it. So now we're in. We go into Corwin's company. Mm-hmm. Melissa McCarthy shows up.
And, wait, what?
Yes, I know. You should watch. So she's his, secretary or maybe the operations manager or something. Mm-hmm. She meets Lucy Liu with these 2 men with her.
Yeah.
Lucy Liu is in a very tight leather pencil skirt with a very tight leather bustier thing.
Very good for fighting. She
has a riding crop. Oh, all very good for fighting.
Yes.
High heels. And you just see these nerdy engineer computer guys just break necks all the way down the aisle as she walks down. About halfway, Melissa McCarthy meets her, and she's like, oh my gosh, we're so glad to have you. It turns out that they've somehow set an appointment for this, efficiency expert to come in.
Yeah.
And that's Lucy Liu. That's her, cover. And so they show her in a lecture hall being very dominatrix-y. I guess the point is that...
Nerds love that.
Nerds love this, so it'll be so distracting that they won't notice that we're, here to infiltrate them. So that's what happens. She, gives this lecture. Everyone's very, caught up with her. And while they're distracted, the 2 men, who are Cameron Diaz and Drew Barrymore, which they both made very good men, I thought. The makeup here was excellent. Mm-hmm. And white, so it wasn't racist. it like with the rest of the movie, you're kind of like, whoa, which way are they going to go? But this was totally not racist. And they go to the vault, and they, like, do the fingerprints, they do the retinal scanner. It doesn't work, but then it does. Cameron Diaz strips down into this, like, tight gymnastics suit, and Cirque du Soleil's in there so that her feet never touch the ground for more than 2.5 seconds, which would set off the alarm, and she plants a bug. Now, if you plant a bug that is supposed to tell you if Corwin's company has any of Eric Knox's software in it, why would this need to go on any further? You could just know that now and be done. But that's not what happens. So they all get back. We've been seeing Drew Barrymore and Eric Knox kind of flirt. They end up hooking up.
Behind Chad's back.
Which are like, no. And this is like a montagey part of the movie. Yeah. So, yeah, no, she's done with Chad. She's been done with Chad.
No, she comes back to Chad. I remember.
Listen.
Oh, sorry. Spoiler alert.
Wow. Spoiler alert. So, she hooks up with Eric. You're like, no. He gets her with, like, an offer to play Scrabble and make him chicken. He's like, I don't know how to make dinner. He literally says that. And he holds up a box of shake and bake. And you're like, I'm like, oh my God, this woman is protecting your life. And he literally is like, but I can't make myself dinner. I mean, we just cannot get a break. So they sleep together. While this is happening, Cameron Diaz goes with Luke Wilson, Pete, to the bartender from earlier who speaks Japanese inexplicably, to Soul Train.
Ooh.
Now, they walk in the door at Soul Train. These two white people.
Listen.
The guy at the door goes, do you want to get on stage? And she's like, no. And Luke Wilson's like, that's the highest honor they bestow at Soul Train. And you're going, it is the highest honor, so why you? She gets on stage with her very skinny Cameron Diaz butt, dances to Baby Got Back. The skeptical black crowd is won over immediately by her quirky unassumingness, I guess. And it's ridiculous and terrible. At the same time, Lucy Liu is preparing a dinner for Matt LeBlanc. She's going to tell him that she's a part of this elite spy network. And Bosley is sort of like aggressively come onto by Vivian Wood. This is the montage. So it's all chopped up, but this is what's happening. Then things start to go south. So Lucy Liu's trailer gets shot up. Vivian Wood starts to, like, kind of rape Bosley. Cameron Diaz gets attacked in a bathroom with, like, one of those chains that guys used to wear on their wallets in the 90s. This guy in the bathroom just, like, comes up. And Drew Barrymore gets, cornered by Eric Knox.
Yeah.
And she's just in a sheet. So I feel worse for Drew Barrymore than anyone else.
Yeah, because that's like...
Yeah, you have no defenses. He even says to her, like, I know you have no weapons. And it's like, that's very terrible and rapey. So, that's all happening at the same time. Drew Barrymore is kind of our, our epicenter. So, at some point, I guess Vivian Wood, leaves Bosley. She shows up at the thing with Drew Barrymore and Eric Knox. He shoots Drew Barrymore. She falls out this window, and you're like, oh my gosh, no. Everyone is trying to get back to headquarters, including Bosley. And, everyone has to go through a lot of stuff to get there. Drew Barrymore, though, has to go through the most. Because what we find out is that Drew Barrymore's sheet caught on a piece of glass when she was falling out of the window, and she doesn't get shot. The bullet went over her shoulder and hit the window, and she went with it to fall out of the window, and her sheet caught. So she's now naked, hanging from the side of Eric Knox's home. They leave to go to Sizzler. I am not kidding.
Isn't he a millionaire?
Yeah. And
Sizzler?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
This is just post .com boom, or in the middle of the .com boom.
Yeah.
So it was made or written before the .com boom. So this whole thing is meant a little bit to make fun of tech millionaires, but also we still weren't over them yet.
Mm-hmm.
So that was like, I think, a little bit of poking fun at them, but still he had this like amazing space pod house. And she rolls down a mountain and basically holds a pool toy up in front of herself. And she gets these little boys to give her clothes and shows up back at headquarters with Lucy Liu and Cameron Diaz because they've all sort of gotten the alert that this is all going sideways.
Mm-hmm.
And just as they get there, headquarters blows up.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, no! And I thought Bosley was in there. So I was like, oh my god, Bosley. He wasn't. But, so they, like, whatever, they're there. They can't find Bosley. They start to hear this crackling speaker, and it's Bosley. He's been kidnapped by Eric Knox and Vivian Wood. And
why did they kidnap him, Bosley, if they killed the Angels? Or they would think that they would the explosion.
Yes, that's a great question. So, they hear Bosley, they're like, tell us where you are, but he can't hear them, and they hear this bird song that Cameron Diaz identifies as this one very particular bird species that only lives in this one particular park. And that's how they find the state park, like one of those protected state park, like castle-y things that the West Coast has a lot of them. It looks like Alcatraz, that Eric Knox owns. So they go there. Chad returns because they need a boat. So Tom Green's back, driving them to the thing. They get to the home, they get to this big castle, and they're like, we gotta find Bosley. So they jump off in scuba suits, they land, they take off the scuba suits, all three of them, so that you can just see their naked backs.
Mm-hmm. Very sexual.
Which I was like, okay, definitely. They, like, put on t-shirts or whatever and go find Bosley. A huge fight ensues. It's, Drew Barrymore's, I think, maybe greatest moment in her entire film opus. Would
Really?
you say? Did you see this part?
I did. That's when, like, the scene that always stands out to me, and it literally popped up while we were talking earlier, where, like, she's facing, like, five guys, she's tied to a chair, and, like, she has her legs up, open, to say, I'm gonna fight
But kind
you.
of, like, blocking them. Like, it's not sexy open, it's kind of like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yeah. I mean...
Okay, that's how I read it.
Once again, you're not using your penis right.
Use
your
sorry.
penis, damn it.
I gotta do that more.
This is not about her protecting herself. It's about how your penis feels when you see her do it.
Okay, alright. Well, my penis felt nothing. I thought she looked pretty damn badass. And she basically enumerates how she's gonna kick their butts.
Yeah, that was
And cool. Then does it. And that was pretty cool. It was still, like, very campy, kung fu to come off of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon from, but at the same time, it looks pretty good.
After that movie, everyone knew kung fu.
Yes, and this, like, wire fu method of doing the thing. But it's just so clear how much better done Crouching Tiger was, because this was full of cuts.
Mm-hmm.
It was just chopped up, like, clearly there'd been lots of stunt work and da-da-da, so it was, I'm glad we watched that one first, because it really gave perspective on how good that work was.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever, they all end up at the top of the building. Vivian Wood is there too, somehow. Cameron Diaz had fought her at some point. Luke Wilson calls while she's trying to break Bosley out. It's a lot of montage-y stuff. But they all end up at the top of this fortress. Bosley has gotten out, and they get blasted off the top of it.
Seems legit.
By a helicopter, which Eric Knox is now in. You find out that he's orchestrated this whole thing. You have your, like, villain speech, which has to happen in these kinds of movies. And he basically says that all he wants is to figure out who Charlie is. And the only person Charlie calls directly is Bosley. That's why he wanted Bosley. Because he has voice recognition software, and now the satellite systems, because the Angels put the bug in the mainframe, so now he has that because he has Bosley, and he can find Charlie.
Why does he care about Charlie?
Because Eric Knox's dad was in Vietnam, and his best friend, allegedly, betrayed his regiment and murdered his father.
And that was Charlie.
And that was Charlie. Now, Charlie has a different story. We have no corroboration for either man's perspective on this, other than they've each told us that. But so now the helicopter that has blasted the angels off of the top of the thing is headed to get Charlie. Bosley pulls up in an all-terrain vehicle. How? Don't ask. They all pile in. Lucy Liu gets a bow and arrow out, but a really high-powered one.
What?
And shoots a bow and arrow into the helicopter that Eric Knox is flying.
Wait, what? Hold on.
We just gotta get to the end. The angels, like, ratchet with literal ratchets, like those things where you, like, slide it up and pull, up to the thing. They're straddling bombs, so, okay. And diffusing things, you know, because they're all very good at, like, bomb diffusion, which we've already established with the Matt LeBlanc thing. And they basically disable the rocket mid-flight. It's heat-seeking, which we see. Somehow they disable it in such a way that it comes back to the helicopter, but they've already left off at that point. And they wash up on shore in front of this bungalow, and they're like, oh my god, I can't believe we lived. And they walk in, and they're like, is this Charlie's house? Because that is where they were going. Like, he found Charlie with Bosley's cell phone and the satellite stuff. And they walk in, the house is empty, they're looking around, they're like, Charlie? And this is the point where I was like, the lengths that these women have gone for someone they have never seen, I find very difficult to reconcile.
The whole movie, not just them, everyone.
But one presumes Bosley knows him. He's the one that sources the angels.
Yeah.
So, like, they're the only ones who've never met him. They're the ones out there in these streets.
Risking their lives.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
So they're, like, exhausted and washed up. They're drenched. They look around. Charlie, are you here? Charlie's not there. They sit down. They're exhausted. And you just hear crackle, crackle, crackle. Good morning, angels. From a speaker that they didn't notice before. And they just pause for a second and they go, good morning, Charlie. That's pretty much the end of the movie. The last scene is all four of them. Cameron Diaz, Lucy Liu, Drew Barrymore, and Bill Murray on a beach, drinking tiki drinks. And they're like, oh my god, wasn't that crazy? And Charlie calls Bosley, and you sort of see from behind Charlie's shoulder that he's there on the beach.
Not creepy. Not creepy.
Not creepy at all.
Nope.
And then the three angels and craggy Bill Murray go run into the ocean and frolic together. That's the end.
While Charlie watches.
Yeah,
follows.
Apparently.
That's nasty. So, I gave up in the middle of the movie.
Yeah, you gave up after the race car scene.
But it didn't make any sense.
I don't disagree with you, but I'm committed to this podcast.
You're right. I'm sorry. I'm committed to you in the podcast as well.
But I have to say, you can't be mad at the soundtrack of this movie. You've got Destiny's Child. What's that? What's the song?
Very 2000s.
When they fight the skinny guy, the song that's playing, I don't know what it's called, but it, like, a prominent lyric is "Fuck my bitch up."
I don't know.
I don't know. It's hip hop.
Baby got back.
Baby got back. And yeah, they just collapse in a heap on a couch, and then turns out Knox's dad had a double agent best friend. It wasn't Charlie. Charlie tells them. And then they're all drinking tiki drinks. And that's the end of the movie. Now, let's go to the box office numbers.
Do they get paid for this?
What do you mean?
Like, how much do they get paid to work for Charlie?
Oh, yeah. That's a great question. I have no idea. It seems like they're taken care of, but I can't tell you what their salaries are. Yeah. So, yeah. This has, like, a surprisingly good Rotten Tomatoes percentage, but it is under 70%.
Yeah.
Now, the director's name is Mick G.
But not Mick Jagger.
Which I think is so douchey. I can't even bring myself to click on the Wikipedia link.
Yeah.
Cameo appearances are Tom Green, who was dating Drew Barrymore at the time of production, as you note, and LL Cool J, who surely must have been lied to, because there's no other way. So the budget for this movie was $93 million, and they made
$264 million
so
and $1.
Compared to, well, that's $100,000, right?
Oh yeah, you're right.
$264.1 million. Compared to our other spreads, it's almost shameful. So they made triple, but the other ones, the other box office that we've looked at, it's been like quintuple.
Yeah.
Or 10 times.
Yeah, but like, this is a really bad movie.
It was a really bad movie. I think actually, the thing about Charlie's Angels is that the plot is its own commentary.
Yeah.
Like, just telling the plot is commentary enough.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you almost don't even have to get into the cultural milieu or anything like that. Like, you just know now that this is the kind of movie that just would never be made.
Yeah.
And would never be made this way. So, like, I don't know how Elizabeth Banks is going to do it with Charlie's Angels now, but I'm not going to see it. Like, I honestly am bored with this whole franchise.
No, I'm going to see it. I saw a trailer. It looks really good.
All right, well, we should do, like, a mini episode where you...
Yes, I'm down.
Because I'm not going to see it.
I will say about this movie, it's like really... What the fuck were we all thinking? That's what I keep coming back to with this movie. But
here's the thing, we weren't all thinking.
Yeah.
The only people who were, like, sort of allowed to be thinking in the way that became culture were white men.
Yeah.
So, we weren't all being the key word, thinking. Like, the only thoughts we were interested in were white men's thoughts.
But we gave this movie $286 million.
But it's also a question of what was available. If that's the only thing that was, like, playing, you know... And it's an action movie, so even my, like, conservative parents were like, sure, go see the action movie. It's not a sex movie. But little did we understand that, like, everything back then was a sex movie, because, as you point out, like, when you're thinking with your dick, and you're using rebooting a 70s show as cover to produce a show that is still pretty retrograde, or produce a movie that's pretty retrograde, then, like... It is a sex movie, because sex was suffused through all of women's roles in the 70s. Yeah. Like, it's very recent and even rare now that it's not suffused through women's roles today.
That's a good point. They made a Charlie's Angels Part 2. Guess what it was called?
Fully Loaded?
No, Full Throttle.
Full Throttle.
What the fuck?
What's Fully Loaded? There's a movie where that's the subtitle. But Full Throttle. Okay, what do you make of that?
I'm not sure what they meant by that, but I know it was sexual.
Okay.
Because I'm like, why?
Do you know anything else about that movie?
No.
I
don't watch it. Yeah, no.
Now, I want to extend one white rose to Roger Ebert.
Ooh.
Alive at the time. He called it a movie without a brain.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a pretty good summation of how I feel about this movie.
Yeah. I'm with you on that one. I do miss not about the movie, when it was Siskel and Ebert. Right. And I remember when Siskel died and Robert started doing things on his own and he became the standard bearer. So, thank you, Robert.
Yeah. And I think this was after that.
Yeah. Because Siskel died in like 97. All right, so.
How do you know that?
I was like, I loved movies. I just couldn't afford to go to them. So, yeah.
Oh, that's really beautiful.
So I would find magazines about movies I want to watch and, like, just read the interviews so I can get clips. And I would watch the music videos. That was back when the soundtracks.
That's right.
The music videos would show clips of the movie.
And Destiny's Child does have... Yep. It's... All the women who independent...
Oh, yeah!
What's that song called? I'm so ashamed of myself.
Independent Ladies.
Independent Ladies?
Yeah.
No, I don't think it is.
We'll check that. We'll put it in the show.
We might need a correction corner from this.
Holy shit, dude.
Alright, so I want to try out a new tagline on you.
Go ahead.
Spoiler alert, but it was 20 years ago.
5. I like
Is that a good way to sign off?
I like that.
Because you kind of hinted at it.
Yeah, I like that.
It was like, all right, spoiler alert, assholes. I like that. I was like, that's funny.
I like that.
All right.
Good stuff, dude.
Spoiler alert.
Wait,
20 years ago.
What do you rate this movie on a scale of 1 to 10?
Oh my god, we didn't rate it. Fuck.
Oh, we did. We rated the shit out of it.
We read the shit out of it.
Yeah, we definitely did.
I give it a 0.
A 0? I wouldn't give it a 0 because it had some redeeming factors.
What are those?
For example... yeah, never mind.
No, come on. What are they?
I like Cameron Diaz. Like, I just generally like her.
Oh,
even though she plays the same role in almost every movie. The bubbly pretty girl. And, they had people of color in the movie who said things.
Yes, Lucy Liu is a person of color.
LL Cool J is a person of color.
Do we not think that the blatant fill-in-the-blank face of this movie, counteracts that a little bit?
That's true. Ooh, there was a room full of black people. That was pretty
Soul
impressive.
Train.
Yes.
They were won over inexplicably by...
This is lowering my rating, actually.
I'm sorry, you have to consider not only that people are in the movie, but also how they're served by the movie.
I'll give it a 2.
2?
Because it was, I
find that very high.
I'll give it a 2 because at one point I really liked this movie.
Okay.
So nostalgia. They get from nostalgia. But yeah, alright, we just did Charlie's Angels and holy fuck, that was a dud.
A lot of notes.
A lot of notes. I
gave the tagline. Do you wanna also give the tagline?
Ooh, what was the tagline again?
Spoiler
alert, but it was 20 years ago.
Jerks.
Jerks, yeah.